So, John, how did you find this simple oneness within you? Hey guys, it's John here in the studio on a gloomy but beautifully warm day for the end of January. It's in the 50s outside, and I'm sitting here sipping a lovely beef broth 1 month until I do my fast. Just so you guys know, I normally do a 40-day fast in March, starting into April. This year, I'm only going to do a 21-day fast, just because I want to combine it with intermittent fasting before and after, and so I'm going to make the actual water fast only 21 days this year. So I just wanted to say that because people know that I do that. So, and I'm not promoting you to do anything with your diet. This is not doing. I don't do these things for spiritual reasons. I do these things for health reasons, and just for my own. I feel good when I do it, so that's why I do it. Anyway, I want to read this comment that came in because it's an interesting comment in regards that it has a couple questions about my own personal journey, which I think that's fine to talk about, but I, of course, never want to dwell there. But let me just read what it says here, and I'm going to have to. There's one word in here which I don't fully understand, so I'm going to have to try to extrapolate what she's saying. But let's see. I wonder how you discovered this loving, simple space oneness within you. Have you always been consciously aware of it, or was there a recognizing aha moment? Also, does the strength of it vary? For example, some days you almost feel slightly high of it. Thank you. And I've had several comments on the sneeze in that video, and it's very funny because I don't even remember sneezing, so that makes me laugh. So let's talk about this awareness of self, and this simplicity. So many of you know that my life has been a very interesting life in that my early childhood, I had a father who wasn't very kind to me. But I remember when I was a very, very young boy, and I was going to say probably maybe 13, I was already painting, and I used to ride my bike to the art store to buy paints. And I remember walking into the art store and going to get my paints, and overhearing the two ladies behind the counter. The one lady said to the other, "That young man is always smiling." And I still to this day remember that. That young man is always smiling. And I loved it now when I look back, because I think maybe in some form I was feeling it even in my darkest times. Your question asked about, have I always been consciously aware of it? So no, I don't think I've always been consciously aware of it. I think that it's been there, and I think that the conscious awareness of it came later, and there's a part where does the strength of it vary? And I think the strength of it will always vary in some regard until you eradicate your fear, because the strength is only dimmed by the fears of the world. And I'll be very honest with you, there are times in my life that I had a lot of fear. I mean, with my father, I had a lot of fear all the time. In fact, after he died, I was an adult. I had a nightmare. I had nightmares about him. And so there's always these unconscious fears, right? But all told, I ran into a friend of mine from high school, and I had jokingly put up a T-shirt that I was wearing that said, "Grumpy but wise." And he said to me, I have never seen you grumpy. I don't believe that shirt. And I was like, wow, for everything I was going through in my life, my own self-doubt, my own self-worth, my being overweight, all those things, somehow it was still shining through to everyone that I was just a happy person. Not realizing that there was these dark times in there, right? When I look at this question, there are times in my life when I feel just completely in the moment and completely empowered. And I think we all have those moments. I remember doing comedy sword fighting shows, and just in the middle of a sword fight, which is very intricate, and just nailing it and really feeling that I'm empowered. I got this. And I remember in the middle of a really elaborate sword fight with my comedy partner, and I look him, I look him in the eye and I go, "Damn right," and I just kept going, right? Because that's the feeling of it, right? But when did I become really aware of it? I started searching for a lot of things, and what happened was, and I've told the story before about having what my friend called a Kundalini rising. I don't know if I follow that label or not, but I had an experience in a tent in New Orleans that was life-changing for me. And it showed me that I am not this singular individual. I am part of a greater consciousness, greater oneness. That was probably, I think that was in 1992 that happened. And then I started really doing studies and studies and studies. And then I had these 19 psychics tell me about the past life. And the weird part about that was when the first one told me, she says, "You're telling me you walked with Jesus." And my answer was, "Yeah, I did." And I was then freaked out, because why would I know that I'd done something like that when I was a Catholic guy who didn't believe in reincarnation at that point, really. But I just knew I had done it. But then I, being the stubborn guy that I was like, "Nah, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy who thinks he's Napoleon," right? So I fought that. After the 19 psychics, I finally went and had my regression. And the regression, I had that experience again where I crossed over again with Jeshua this time. And I came to understand this, that God, consciousness, universe, everything is love. But our fear is this blinder, this veil that we hide behind, or we experience behind, and solely so that we can come back to feeling love. And I got that in the very first regression. And that was 1999 that happened. So now all these years have gone by, and I have just started to live it as much as I can. But to be in the physical means you're going to have your times when you're not fully doing it, right? That's part of being here, is that process. But the key really is to bring that kingdom to heaven to earth, and to embody it. So to me, I began truly believing that we are all one. And what was really interesting was, once I stripped away all the dogmatic beliefs of the old age and the new age and came back to just the simplicity of God being love, fear being the illusion of not having love, so love is always present, and that we are all one, and every person and everything that I deal with in life is an aspect of me in some form. When I got to that place, then everything changed, even more so. I began having all the spiritual experiences that everyone says they want to experience, because I stopped believing I wasn't. I started getting very present in the oneness, because I think even time is one. Even time is one. It's all in the oneness. And so by getting very present in the oneness of God and saying, I am receiving this, I am going out of body, I am astral traveling, I am assisting this person in healing themselves, I am, right? All of those things came from those earlier experiences where I finally was able to become aware that the childhood experiences that were happening as a natural function of that young boy, were actually a greater inner oneness that I hadn't acknowledged. And I often tell people that, when you exhale and you come back to that place of complete relaxation, it's important to acknowledge the feeling. Because the more you acknowledge the feeling, the more it jumps up. The more the goosebumps rise on your arm, the more you have that experience of just feeling that compassion, that love, that pure essence of love that's always there, right at the bottom of that breath. And when you hear people pulling out the labels and the dogmas and the ideas that are so convoluted rather than simple. Right now everyone's talking about going to the 5D world. I'm going to the 1D world. I'm going back to the oneness, whereas everybody else is fracturing themselves and going off into 5D. I'm going off into the 1D. I'm going back to the awareness of my oneness with God. And because of that, I'm being shown the infinite, because the infinite's in the oneness. So that's my thought on this. I hope that explains and answers your question. I think there's always been something in my awareness that I was not consciously aware of, but unconsciously was. And then when I was able to bring that awareness into my consciousness, then I started being able to do amazing things in my life. And, just seeing the beauty of the world. And that's really the key to this, is understand that it's all beautiful. Even the times of strife and damage are just the opportunities to feel that love more fully when you finally do. And so that's my thought on this. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.